somebody was recently asking me, they're one of our last guests, Brad Bates, she's known as the Butcher Wizard on YouTube. He's on his own 30-day carnivore challenge, and he asked me on our episode, like, do you think 30 days is enough to be able to do a challenge? And I told him, like, I don't necessarily think that 30 days is enough, but I also think that 30 days is quite enough for most people to be hooked and to want to continue going. I did the same thing in April of 2019. I wanted to do it for 30 days. And by day 31, I wasn't willing to stop. And to this day, I don't really know many people, or any people really that I can name, that decided to try a carnivore diet for 30 days and then the very next day say, okay, I'm going back to the way I was eating before. Has that been kind of your experience as well? It was your personal experience, but if, to your knowledge, is that the way most people handle it also?
I would agree with that for the most part. Yeah, I agree with you. I think it depends on you as an individual. Where are you coming from? You know, so I think a lot of people hear about these amazing results that some people have, and they expect to perhaps achieve something meaningful within that 30 days, and sometimes it's just not possible. So I have a theory about why I had such a quick turnaround. I think maybe because I didn't have my gut, I didn't have that extent of a biome, and so I wasn't upsetting the bugs too much by transitioning overnight. And I think that when I did, because I had such little biota down there, because obviously the majority of it is in the colon, I think that maybe that's why I had such a quick turnaround. But I mean, I did struggle with energy definitely for the first 2 weeks. Well, the first 3 weeks, technically. It was right on day 21 where everything seemed to align. But yeah, in my experience, I think most people that start a 30-day challenge, they do experience good results. You know, most people say something like, my brain fog's gone, I didn't even realize I had it. You know, stuff like that often happens. Um, you know, I'm losing fat pretty fast, and that's always nice. But I think if you have perhaps other issues, thyroid issues, um, it just depends. You know, hormone issues, certain autoimmune conditions, they just take longer to reverse. And sometimes even people losing fat, there's certain issues in their body that we just don't know, you know, to the extent where they're at. And sometimes the body needs to heal before you can start to lose fat, because the body doesn't know how fat you are. The body does not understand how many, you know, pounds of fat that you have that for you is too much. It's just like, I don't want to lose fat. You know, I don't want to starve. It holds on to it. So sometimes for some people, you know, they do actually need to eat more than what they think. And maybe, you know, I would say like a 12-week is a pretty safe challenge. It's tricky to, if you have that in your mind, maybe that's why we don't promote those, because it's so difficult to commit to. You think 3 months, that's like quarter of a year. You know, I can't do that for quarter of a year. But 30 days is pretty simple. I think my advice would be to transition really slowly, 6 weeks transitioning. And then when you arrive at BBBE, why don't you just do that for another 6 weeks? That would be my advice. If you have an autoimmune disease, it's best that you don't put cheese in or any dairy in. And a food addiction as well, you know, that kind of thing. Yeah, we're all different, you know, but I do think that it just takes time to find your version, your kind of tailored fitted carnivore or keto style diet, and it's constantly evolving for many people. I mean, it wasn't too long ago that I started eating more raw, that I didn't eat any eggs whatsoever. That's just me, you know. We all find ourselves on a different variation of a carnivore diet.
Yeah. No, that's really well said. I like your thoughts on the, 30-day versus 90-day kind of a carnivore challenge, and everybody can be motivated a little bit differently or demotivated if that challenge does seem like it's going on for too long. People can't imagine doing something for 90 days, excuse me, so 120 days. When do you think was the point, somewhere between 2012 when things were starting to get worse and the day of your surgery? Do you think impossible to say for sure, but do you think there would be a point where, had you known this information, you could have saved your colon?
I've actually posed this exact question to a lot of people, you know, people like Bart Kay and Anthony Chafee. If that day when I first went down to my doctors, they said, instead of like eat loads of fiber, eat often, lots of colors, base around whole grains, etc. Imagine if they said, what do you eat? What do you drink? Do you drink alcohol? Right. No more alcohol. Cut that out first for a week. Seed oils, highly processed foods, cut that out. Then, you know, you want to perhaps go from whole grain pasta and brown rice to actually the white bread and the white pasta, and slowly but surely get rid of all the plant materials. I think if they said to me, if you go on a carnivore diet that doesn't have dairy in it, and we're going to get there slowly, I really strongly believe I wouldn't have this problem. I mean, I've spoken to so many people that have Crohn's and colitis, and they reach out to me, like 2 months after watching a video, and they're like, "My son's in remission. Just want to say thanks." And my Crohn's is gone. I've been in remission for 3 months thanks to you. When I saw your video, I started, to change my diet, etc. So I hear so many times, like countless times, like I have emails, I have messages on my videos, and even other people that make videos, people that have discovered them on their channel, and the answer, like they seem to do extremely well getting themselves out of trouble, getting into remission, and staying in remission for really, really long periods of time. Many of them haven't really gone back and had a flare up since, and they've been doing this for 2, 3, 4 years. So yeah, I strongly believe that if I had the opposite advice, I probably would be here. Well, I wouldn't be here talking to you,
That's
which may be
true.
a shame.
Yeah,
I
that's
don't
true.
have any regrets about what's happened, because I'm on a different journey now. I feel like I have more meaning in my life because of this. It's kind of the bad things that happen to us that really builds character.
Yeah, no, that's a great attitude to take, and a very positive way to look at things. Where do you think the disconnect is? Because I've done this so many times. You go onto Google and you search, what kind of diet should I be eating for digestive disorders? And you can punch in any of them, all the ones that you mentioned, the colitis, the IBS, the IBD, all these different things. And the recommended diet is a low to no fiber diet. Yet so few health professionals seem to know that, and most doctors just know that fiber is the best thing for you, especially when it comes to digestive issues. So how did things get so backwards and disconnected there?
Kind of reminds me of what Ken Berry said. He's like, it's the echo of the lie. I think that's so true. Many of our doctors, they have good intentions, dietitians, nutritionists, etc. They really believe that they are qualified to give advice about diet. And you would think, well, why wouldn't they? They have literal qualifications to suggest that they're an expert in this field. But I think that, like, Ken Berry said, the echo of the lie, there's a lot of misinformation and disinformation, corrupt history, etc., which has kind of laid down the foundation for what we're experiencing right now. Many of the youngsters, young teens are getting diagnosed today with Crohn's and colitis because they have had the wrong information, and it's just everywhere. It's ubiquitous. I actually find that when you go on Google, it's so difficult. It's just constant conflicting information as well. So I think most of the studies it's like this bias advocating for fiber and high fiber rich diets, constantly. And people come to me about diverticulosis, celiac, any kind of gut related issues. And they say that through their journey that they've mostly been recommended to consume plant-based stuff and fiber and things like that. But like you say, there certainly is enough information out there. I just think that we're trying to contend with organizations, Sugar Foundation, etc., all of these, big companies they're making so much money, and the drug companies, pharmaceuticals in conjunction with farming. It's crazy. Some of these companies never used to have their hand in farming or food. It used to be one thing, and now all of a sudden it's like it's so tricky. It's just the situation we're in. Unfortunately, they're all working together, and I'm not saying that they're all the bad guys. I think that many people just don't know. They may have good intentions. Maybe they just got their business hat on and they want to make some money. They're not really considering the deleterious effects downstream to the people consuming their products. But I mean, if you think about Nestle, they got their hand in agriculture and farming and food like Kit Kat bars, but then they have their hand in pharmaceuticals to mitigate type 2 diabetes. What? Immoral hazard, like that's unbelievable. You can't write it. So I think that we're in the minority with our beliefs, and we're trying our best to try and get the truth and what we believe is the truth out there to people. But unfortunately, the mainstream advice is still very much this plant push and the fiber and how beneficial that is, which is crazy because they obviously just don't understand what fiber is, and that the benefits of fiber are not exclusive to fiber. There's far better ways of. It's like going around the houses, or you could just cut straight through. That's the difference to me. It's a tricky situation, but we're all trying to do our part to sort of unravel this mess.